All right, good afternoon, everyone. So today we'll be continuing with our DevOps projects, which we have been working on for a while. And today, as a continuation of our last video, we'll be working more on the Ansible Refactoring and Static Assignments project, which is a continuation of what we did earlier on. And I'll be kind of taking you through the step-by-step approach and being able to um, complete this particular project. And in doing so, we are going to learn about some basic concepts in Ansible, especially with what we call using of import module in Ansible and how to apply roles with respect to is a continuation of our DevOps Tooling website solution. But what we are doing basically is to use the Ansible automation approach to be able to deploy our solution to the cloud. So I'll be taking you through the entire process which I went through in achieving this particular project. To make it a bit easier, I've kind of documented the entire approach on my GitHub, which we're going to walk through as part of this tutorial. So let me just open that real quick so that because that is going to be our guide with respect to the implementation. So I'm going to just take you through some of the basics of what we need to achieve with respect to this particular tutorial. So in our previous tutorial, you have been following up the tutorial from where we started the DevOps Tooling web solution, where we have to manually configure each servers and stuff like that. But in this particular approach, we are using the server configuration to like Ansible to automatically configure and deploy our solution on the cloud. In the initial, what they call in the previous tutorial, what we did was to use Ansible to install um, some basic packages on the server, which is the previous NFS server, database server, the load balancer servers, and some web servers, basically. But in this approach, in this particular tutorial, we are going to kind of go further than the basic configuration we did by installing and installing what we call it installing um, GitHub, cloning the repo, the tooling repo, and deploying the solution into the appropriate file location on the server using Ansible as a deployment tool, which is actually part of the bigger um, auto configuration approach that we are actually working towards. So in this tutorial, I'm just going to take you through the entire approach and how we are going to use static assignment, how we are going to use the static assignments using the import and the role approach. So although I've done the entire project already, as you can see, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to terminate all these instances so that it makes it easier for us to start from scratch as my usual practice with all of my projects. So let's go through this. So we have the basic introduction, which you can read through. But our basic architecture is a bit straightforward. We have our Jenkins server, which will serve as our basting host. which we are going to connect through to the various servers we are going to be auto configured. We have a Ansible code base, which is this. We'll be working with this code base to manage our Ansible playbook and also other configuration logics. Right. So the prerequisites. So we are going to start by on our. We are going to have. We are going to start with. So we are going to start with our terminal, as you can see on this. Okay, you're not seeing my terminal. So let me just start with my terminal minutes. So let me just stop this for a while. So we are currently on my terminal. So let me just go back to my GitHub. Right, so my GitHub. So we're supposed to start by cloning the Ansible repo, right? So which is more like a prerequisite, more like setting the stage for the entire project. So we'll go to the terminal again. Right, so here I'm going to do clone this. So which is cloning exactly what I have. So I'm going to do clear this, then cd into it. Then I'm going to do code to open my my terminal or my VS code, right? So 1 minute. Let me quickly bring up my VS code up. So here is my VS code, as you can see on the screen. So so because we're trying to start this from the scratch, I'm going to kind of reset some of my code, like the role. I'm going to delete this. Right. So let me delete this role. Right. So I'm going to delete this. Right. Let me leave this for a while. Let's go back to the documentation again. Right. So this is the documentation. So I have this setup, which is fine. Then the next step of what I needed to set up is I need to set up Ansible on my local machine. And to do that, and the reason why I'm doing this basically is to make it easier for me to work, to be able to use some of the Ansible specific syntax, to be able to make use of Ansible Galaxy, to be able to make use of Ansible lints that help me to catch lint errors in my Ansible playbook. So to do that, right, on your local machine, you need to set up a Python. So I will assume that on your local machine you already have Python installed. For me, I'm currently using Python 13, 3.13. So we are going to install. You are going to initiate. You're going to initiate a Python environment, more like a virtual environment on your local machine for Python. And to do that, I'll just type in this. This will kind of set up a Python workspace for me, right? So that has been done. So once that has been done, I'm going to activate the Python environment. And to do that, since I'm using, if you're on Mac OS or Linux, whatever, you just need this particular one. But if you're on Windows, this is what you need to activate the Python virtual environment you just created. So if I go back to my VS Code, right, just type in this, you will notice that I am now in the Python environment. And the beauty of this is means that I can install Ansible on my local machine without installing it actually on the system itself. More like I isolated a virtual environment for me to work with Ansible on the local machine. So based on that, we are going to move down to the Ansible installation, right? And to do that, we are going to use the pip package manager on Python using the Python environment to do this. So copy the code to install Ansible. So we are installing Ansible on the virtual environment, not on the system itself. We are only installing it inside the virtual environment based on the .venv, which is the virtual environment. So that's where we are installing the Ansible. The beauty of that is it lets us work with Ansible in development mode where we are able to use some Ansible specific command like the Ansible links, the Ansible Galaxy. You're going to see the beauty of it when we get to that part of that in the current tutorial. So let's just wait for it to finalize the installation. Alright, as you can see on the screen, the installation has been successful. And one of the things I've actually realized is that I use Ansible links a lot to check for links errors or typographical errors, or just used to check my Ansible playbook to ensure that I comply with the Ansible standard. But one of the things I realized is that when you install Ansible the way I did, the version of link that comes in is always the old version, which you can see. I have version 6.2 installed, whereas the current version is actually 25. To be able to resolve this, I'm going to go back to my documentation where I'm going to copy the command to upgrade my lint. The lint is quite a very powerful tool, and we are going to see the beauty of it as we progress with this tutorial. So let me clear my screen and paste the command. So this should be able to help us upgrade the links to the latest version. So let's just wait for a few seconds, it shouldn't be long. Alright, so let me clear this. Let me check the current version now. Well, actually I have these a lot, so let me see. Alright, so what we are going to do is I'm going to restart this. One of the issue I realized is that even though I've installed it doesn't really come up immediately until I restart my VS Code. So I'm just going to do that quickly. So I restarted my VS Code, then if I check the Ansible version now, I have the latest version, right? As you can see, we have the latest version. The Ansible core is 2.18, which means that they are currently up to date. So that's has helped us to set up our basic workflow. So let's go back to the documentation. So this is fine, as you can see. To make it easier for you to work with Ansible, you can also install the Ansible extension on VS Code. I think I've done the installation already. based on my previous work. But you can just come down the the installation, to the extension option here. Let me just quickly update this. So if you type in Ansible, right, so this is the Ansible package. You can see I've installed it already, which is this, which is what you have here, right? To be very honest with you, I've not really figured out how to properly make use of this extension though. So I won't really be diving deep into how to use it for now because I'm still kind of understudying it. So we'll be working specifically without really using the extension for our workflow. So this is basically what I have for now. So let's go back to the documentation. Right, so we are done with the prerequisites. The self-study is just talking about some basic information about Ansible artifact, how to reuse an artifact and stuff like that. So the first step we need to do is to set up our Jenkins server, because our Jenkins server will also serve as our basting host. So let me just refresh this. What we are doing is basically what we have done in several tutorials, so it's not that kind of difficult. So let me just refresh this page a bit quickly. We have terminated all the instances we are using earlier on, so we are going to start from scratch, to kind of set up the various EC2 instances we needed for this particular project. So let's just wait a bit for that to quickly come up. So I'm going to launch a new instance, and the instance is going to be an Ubuntu. So I'm going to call this Jenkins Ansible server, because it's going to have Jenkins and Ansible on a single server, which is an Ubuntu. So we're going to use an Ubuntu image. As you can see, 82 micro is enough for our application. So I'm going to choose my key pair. As you can see, I already have a key pair for this. You can create one if you want, but I already have one already. Let me see. Let me see what it's saying. Okay, I don't need to create a security group. I already have a security group, so I'm just going to pick from what I already have. So this is Jenkins, right? So that's basically what I'm going to show you how what I configured in the security group, so that you can do the same. But basically what I'm doing is basically what I've done in my previous videos when setting up Jenkins servers and stuff like that. You can also check through that in case you need a more like a robust refresher on that. But basically I'm going to take you through how to configure a whole Jenkins server using an EC2. So there's nothing to worry about. So you can just follow me step by step as I proceed with this tutorial. So just waiting. So I just want to show you exactly how I configured the security group for the Jenkins server, so that you really understand how that is done. Basically, I think I have two specific rules on the security group. One is for the SSH to allow me connect to the SSH via my local machine. Then also, because Jenkins runs on port 8080, I need to make sure that the 8080 is actually available to the internet, so you can access the Jenkins server from the web interface. Let me just confirm that my IP is still correct, hasn't changed. So, okay, so that has been set. So based on that, based on what we have, so we need to move down to the next step is for us to configure. So this is basically what I was showing you, the SSH configured to my IP and the likes. So we need to SSH into the Jenkins server. So for me to do that, I'm just going to select this, right? I'm going to connect. I'm going to copy this, right? So I'm going to go back to my terminal, as you can see. So in my terminal, right, let me just clear the screen. So I'm going to go back one step further. I'm going to CD to where I have my key pair. So I'm going to paste this, right? But for my key pair, I have a bit of adjustment to this because the name is different on my system. So I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to type yes. This will bring me straight into the Jenkins server terminal. So we need to go back to the documentation. So go back to my documentation. So basically, I'm going to copy this to install the. I need to install the. We call it. It's more like a Java package, but we are installing what we call a headless JDK. More like it's a. I think it's more of a software development kit from Java ecosystem. You know. So it's called a Java development kit. So to do that, I'm going to go back here. So I'm going to paste this. Right. Oh, I think I made a bit of a mistake. Um, the oh, I think I made a bit of a mistake with my EC2. The EC2 I installed is Red Hat instead of Ubuntu. That is really a big one. So we'll probably need to go back. I think that was why it was popping up the error message for me. So we need to quickly correct that. You can see we installed Red Hat instead of Ubuntu. So, all right, I think we have fixed the issue. Right now we have Ubuntu here. So let me go back to my documentation. Right, so I can easily copy this, come back to my terminal. Quickly install this. Let's go back to documentation. Copy this second line. Right, so just paste second line. Right. Then we can now install the Jenkins. What we pasted earlier was just the official Jenkins repo. So with that, we can update our package lists, then install Jenkins. So Okay. So I'm installing that already. I can say update and install Jenkins. So I'll go back to our documentation to start Jenkins and enable it. So let's go back to the terminal. So let me clear this. I think while I'm here too, so we can do sudo system control status Jenkins. You can see it's actively running and is enabled, which means the duty of the enabled means that if I restart or reboot the server, immediately the server comes back online, Jenkins will automatically start with the server. So column Q to exit. Right, so let's go back to our documentation. That kind of solves the Jenkins part. So before I move on to finalize the Jenkins installation, I think while I'm still on the server, let me quickly install Ansible. Let me just go back to where we have the Ansible, just to be very sure. Let's see. So I don't want to come back to the server again, so I just want to install Ansible. Let's see. Okay, I think I have that to install Ansible, so we're going to follow this. It's on my Ansible configuration repo. I'm just going to copy this and just install that so that I know I'm 100% done with all installation and the server. So let me just quickly install this. So I just want to be sure that I'm done with everything I needed to install. So let's go back to the documentation. So before we also install, there's also a part we needed to configure. Okay, so let's just move on to this so that I don't want to skip any parts. So now we need to get the secret key for us to finalize the Ansible installation. So, so let me just place that here. This will give me the unique key for Ansible. So I'll leave that for now. Now I'll go back to my EC2. Let me just close this. The instance. So I'm going to go to Elastic IP. So that I'm going to associate a unique IP. It's that instance. So I have this earlier on using. So I'm just going to associate this. You can create as many IP as you want. I don't know, maybe there's limitation, I don't know, but these I've created some couple of IP. I think this service is free on AWS. So I'm hoping, I'm guessing it might have some limitations, but I'm not 100% sure of that. So I don't want to give you the wrong information. So when you click on associates, ensure you are selecting instance, then you click on this. This is what you're going to do. If you click on this, it's going to show you list of available instances. Then you can associate the IP with the right instance. Then I always click on this to allow the association of the same IP. In case I want to dissociate it and use it elsewhere, it's easier for me to do that. So based on that, if I click on this, okay, let me just copy this, but let me close this. If I refresh this page, you discover that the public IP will change for the instance, and it will update it to the current elastic IP associated with that. So by the time I copy the IP, then I do 8080, which is the port we are using. I should be able to see my Ansible and my Jenkins, right? So based on what I'm saying, I'm going to go back to my terminal and copy the secrets, initial admin password, what you call it. So let me just copy this. Let's go back to our web page. I'm going to paste this here. And I'm going to continue. Everything works fine. Then I'm going to click on install, which is the first option. Just wait for it a couple of seconds for it to be done with the installation. So while that is going on, let's just review our documentation. So we are here, so this is going to do whatever it needs us to do and wait for this particular page. So it's still installing. So ideally, what we needed to do is, once it's done, we are supposed to come back to this our Ansible configuration, go to the settings, right? Go to the settings, go to the webhook, right? Although it's already here though, but ideally it won't be there, so you need to click on Add Webhook. It probably asks for your password. Right, so based on that, I think the option is application JSON, enter the payloader, which is basically this, then add some minutes. Let me quickly finalize this. So let me create the username. It's always important you do this because when you reload your Jenkins, it will force you to enter your username and password. So if you don't have it, that will be a bit of a problem. You need to start configuring some funny things in the server. So this is probably the best approach. So this is what you're supposed to copy. Copy this, bring that into, if you do this, then in web hook or something like that. Right, let me just be sure. Right. Okay, so GitHub webhook is what you're supposed to do there. So just GitHub webhook, then you just save. That's basically how to do that. But since I already have one, there's no point creating another one. As you can see, I already have it here. No secret, nothing. Just save it, and that's just that. So that will complete that. So I'll just save and finish and start using that. So that kind of solve that. So the first thing we need to do when we open our Jenkins is to create our first Jenkins job, which we are going to call. So I'm just going to click on New Item, call it Ansible. Now, in creating that Ansible, which is similar to what we did earlier on, we need, so the Ansible is for the Ansible GitHub repo. So what I'm going to do is come back to this place. So I can just call it Ansible configuration. So I'm going to select this. So from here, I'm going to copy, make sure you are in the HTTPS, copy this, come back here, paste it here. Right, then in the credential, I don't have any, so I just add the credential, pick Jenkins, then I'm going to put yes, then I think I'm making a mistake. I think that should be it. So okay, that is good. You can see created. So I had this, which is fine. So I'm going to change this to main instead of master, which is the main branch, right? Then I think I'm going to do trigger with GitHub hook. Then under this post, I'm going to say archive. And then I'm going to put archive everything. And I'm going to save this, which is basically what I want to do. Now, to be sure that that is working, right? All right, so let me just adjust my readme just for argument's sake, or just test that the Jenkins job is actually working fine. So ideally, if everything is working fine, if I update the readme file in the main, it's supposed to trigger. I don't know why this doesn't want to open. So let's just give it a bit of time. So which is basically what we have here, like I said. So let me just wait for it. It's taking a bit. Okay. So since I already have it in my VS Code, so I will just trigger that from my VS Code. So let's see what can just drag it down and see what I can adjust. So let me remove this. The formats. Okay, good, that is fine. So let me just say update readme. So let me push that to GitHub. Let me see that that has worked. So if I come back here and I refresh the page, right, and see it's working perfectly. It's working superb, which is fine, which is exactly what I wanted, right? Um, Right, so I think that's about that. So this is working fine, right? So now the next part is we needed to create this location because what we want to do is instead of allowing the Jenkins to be, Jenkins job Activa to be stored inside the Jenkins location, we want it to be stored in a location we can have access to and do our thing. So to do that, we are going to create a location in our home directory that we want the Ansible, we want the entire Ansible configuration to be archived and saved for easy access. So I'm going to clear this. Okay, I think I'm having a bit of, let me just create a new tab. So I can close this tab. So can we log into the this will not work. This will not work. Okay, because we have changed the IP, so I need to go back and get the latest. So I'm going to come here. So I'm going to copy this, go back to the terminal. So let me bring this up again. So I'm going to clear all of this. Then I'm going to paste this. Then this should work. Let me see. Blah 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 blah. Key blah blah blah. Nonsense. Okay. So the reason why I'm having this is because I already have this stored already in my system. So what I need to do is conflicting. So I need to remove it. So what I needed to do is let me just copy this first. So this is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to use sudo nano. Let me just copy this instead of stressing myself. So I need to go and delete the key, which is this key. I need to go and delete that. So let's enter that. Let me see. So let me find the key. See. Okay, this is the key, so I can just okay. I can just clear everything from these points. Let me just clear everything from these points. I see a lot of AWS instances I've made use in the past. So let me just delete this for now. That's a lot of cleaning. Hopefully this is the last one. Oh well. So let me just pause a bit and just deal with it. All right. So I think we should be able to. Still filling. Let me see. Someone is dropping. Blah, blah, blah. Is it possible that the whole skill has just been changed? One for the new site that you notice this contact. Okay, let me look at this again. This doesn't make sense again. Oh, I think I missed it. 40, 51, 44, 44, 41. Okay, let me figure. Okay, I think it should be fine now. Alright, that's fixed it. Good. So let's go back to our documentation. So I needed to create. So the first thing is I'm creating this location, right? I'm giving them full. I'm allowing the permission for this particular location, full permission, 777, read writes, and execute what have you for the directory and subdirectory or all the files there. Then you can see that I'm adding now the owner of this particular directory is the Ubuntu because it's in the Ubuntu home, right? Ubuntu is the user, which means that it's only Ubuntu that have the authorization to manipulate or do whatever needs to be done on this file. But I need the Jenkins server, right, to be able to add files to this location. And because given the way Linux works, if you are not the owner of a particular directory, you can manipulate data or files in that. So to be able to do that, I am adding the Jenkins to the Ubuntu group, which means that since I've given this 777, which means that users in the group, this location, the owner is Ubuntu and the group ownership is also Ubuntu. Now I'm adding Jenkins to the Ubuntu group such that you also have opportunity to manipulate this data in such a way that when we are now using Jenkins server to send the Jenkins artifacts, you will be able to send it into that location. So to do that, I'll just go copy this, go to my terminal, right? Just paste this. This will just solve that. So if I do this, you can see. So if I do cd Ansible and I do ls you can see. Let me see. Okay, let me go back one step up. So let me do this again. Okay, the root has right. The root has this. Right. So there's a read, write, read for the owner, read, write, read for the group, and read, write, read for others, which means Ubuntu, Jenkins, which is part of Ubuntu, should be able to have access to this location memory. Initially, ideally, let me see, ideally this should have done the trick, but what I noticed was when I was doing the project, I noticed that even though I set this, without setting this, I was still unable to copy file into it from the Jenkins server. So when I added this, it kind of worked. So I figured I needed to add the Jenkins to the Ubuntu group, and that's the reason why this was done. So after this, let's move to back to the Jenkins server. So what I was saying earlier on was that ideally, when you make this using the root, um, setting this should allow the Jenkins server or any other users to be able to send or manipulate files inside this. But while I was working on the project earlier, I discovered that that did not really solve the problem. So I needed to add Jenkins to the Ubuntu group for it to be able to do that. So anyway, that's that. So let's go back to the Jenkins servers to create another job. But before we do that, we are going to install a plugin called Copy Artifacts. So to do that, I'll go to the dashboard. Oh, I've been logged out, so let me log in. So this is the reason why we needed to create this. Assuming, oh, lot of views. I'm hoping I get this password. Good. Okay, fine. So go to Manage Jenkins. Then let me dismiss this. So go to Plugin. Then go to Available Plugin. Then search for Copy Artifacts. So select it, then click on Install. This should install everything. Then select Restart. That should restart your Jenkins server. So let's wait a bit for that to be done. While we are waiting for that, so once that has been done, right, we are going to initiate another job, right? We are going to initiate another job. I think we are going to call that, I think, Ansible artifact or something like that. So let's just wait for this to be done. Okay, I think it's done. So let me go back. So, let me see. So this one should be save artifacts, then free, then I'll do okay. So the way this will work, I can just say copy artifacts. So once the artifact is being built, based on the update to this repo, right? That's the Ansible job. It is going to build it, archive it. Then this particular job is going to take the archive and push it to the server. So let me activate, rotate, keep to. That is fine. Then I'm going to use this. Okay, I don't need this. What I need to do is, so instead of trigger by this, I'm going to do build from another. So I'm going to say Ansible, which is the earlier job we did. So trigger only for stable, which is fine. I think that is fine. I think that's all I needed to do here. Then I'll go to build. Then I'll say copy from another project. Then it's going to ask me, I'm going to say Ansible, which is the project I want to copy from. Latest successful build, yes, but always stable build. What am I copying? I'm copying everything. Then uh, the target directory. Let me see if I can get that from here. Stable copy. Yes. So this is what I'm looking for. So I think I can just copy it from C. Okay, so this is it. I just copy it from here. Yes. So that. I think everything is fine. I don't think I need a post action. I don't need a post action. That's just what I needed. So I can just apply and save. Right. So to know that this is working, I'll go back to this and I'll say build. So that build 2, right? Started that build. So let me go to this. You can see that we also build, right? Say was triggered from here. So which means that this is working fine. Now, what we needed to do is go back to our VS Code, right? So I need to go back to my VS Code, right? So what we needed to do is, let me just check out. Let me put this to the GitHub. So I'm just going to do this for now. Let me clear this. Let me clear that. Let me delete the rows. So I'm kind of restoring it back to what we had initially. So, this is what we had initially. Okay, so let me just delete this. This is what I want to restore it back to what we had initially. So I'll move this here. So I'll delete this. I'll also delete this so that we can follow the instruction. So this is what we have from previous projects. This is what we have from previous projects. If you follow my previous project, this is basically what we have. Let me quickly just correct this. Okay. I'm having a bit of an error here, so let me just, before then, let me just update this. Reset projects folder. So I'm resetting the project folder. Let's quickly do this. Right. So that has been, this issue has been fixed. So I'm still inside the virtual environment anyway. So I added an ignore file so that the environment and the US specific whatever will not go into my GitHub. So I think that's solved that. Now, if you go back to the documentation, which is just compare the documentation with the instruction anyway. Right. So in the documentation we have done this anyway. So ideally from the documentation, we're supposed to do some bit of refactoring basically. So I just want to confirm that. So in the initial project, this is what we have. But testing, for us to be able to test the import functionality, we are expected to create a static assignments folder. Then we are supposed to move this into the static folder. Then inside here we are supposed to create a site.yaml file, right? And basically what we are supposed to do is the site is supposed to be the entry point for our entire playbook. So I'm supposed to import using the built-in import playbook functionality to import the common YAML file into the entry point, which is basically what we're trying to do. So with this, what I'm saying basically is that common tags, which is this, import it. Now in the common tags, you discover that what we wanted to do is, which is similar to what we did earlier on, is we are still maintaining this. So instead of running this common playbook directly, we are running it from the site, which is the entry point. Then we are importing this statically into the site, which is the site.yaml file. So what we are doing basically is still the same thing. So we are still going to use the dev, which has the, so for me to check if this is actually working, right, I need to create 1, 4, 5, 6 servers basically. So we'll just go back. So we are not going to configure those servers. There's no point us configuring them. I'm just going to create them real quick. From the documentation, actually, let me see. So we have NFS, which is a Red Hat. The same thing with the web servers and with the database. All of them are Red Hat instances. So we should have about 5 Red Hat instances and 1 Ubuntu instance. So I'm just going to create them real quick, right? Let me see. So I'm going to go to instances. I'm going to launch instances. So I'm just going to create base instances for all of them, no configuration. I just want to use that to test, for us to just test that even though we refactor the initial, let me just say sample. So I'm going to make them 5. Let me just call them, well, I'll just call them web server for now. I'll adjust the name later. Let me call them web server. Still waiting for it to do its nonsense. You have to be a bit careful because you need to wait for this image OS to finish loading. So I just do web server. Right, so I leave it, I make it 5, I will adjust them later. So the 5 will comprise of 5 web servers, 1 NFS server, and 1 DB server, right? Um, Still waiting for that. I don't know why it's taking that long. I don't know why this is taking that long. So let me just refresh this. It shouldn't take that long. So basically, if you go back to my earlier work, my earlier projects documentation, let me see if I can quickly open that up, which is this. Taking it, I just pause a bit for it to get loaded. Now, if you go back to my initial projects, I think I should have some architecture here. That's strange. You have created it. Okay. I just wanted to show you the architecture so that you probably understand what I'm trying to achieve. And you're like, aha, good. Now, this is the architecture I'm trying to show you. So, what I'm just trying to achieve is almost similar to this. You have a database layer, the NFS server layer, the 3 web servers, and the load balancer, and Jenkins. So, even though we are not going to configure any of these servers, we are just going to just create them as EC2s instances, just bare empty EC2s just to test out the Ansible configuration. So let me pause a bit while I refresh the EC2 instances. All right, I think so. These are loaded. So let's do, like I said, 5 instances. I think we will maintain the micro because we just wanted to test the Ansible. So not like we are doing anything extra here. So I'm just going to select from my list of I'm going to use the web server for now, but I'll probably make some adjustments later to some of them that will not be web servers. So let's launch. So, let's just wait for that. So let me just quickly launch another one. Let me launch this. So I'll just pause a bit, finish the launching, then we can continue with. So, okay. So I'm just trying to change the security group for the C. So come to action. come to security, change security. Let's add DB, add this, remove this. Now I need to adjust each of the security groups. Now, if you go to security groups, so before then, I need to go to network. I need to find the subnet address. So I click on the subnet. Interested in the subnets. So let's see. Let me go back to where I'm coming from. That is still loading. Let's go to branch. So this is just a temporary branch I'm just keeping. So I don't lose what I have in my let's go back to where we are. So in this VPC, I'm only looking for the subnet address or the subnet IP. So let's just pause and wait for that to. Alright, so I've adjusted the security group inbound role in compliance with the subnet IP for since we are using the availability zone 3C. So based on that, I adjusted that. So based on that, what I'm going to do is let me first check. Ideally, based on how we have done that, we have set up, we should not be able to. We set these other servers, the load balancer, the web server 1 to 3, the DB server, whatever. We should not be able to SSH into them directly. We should be able to SSH into them from the Jenkins server, which is our Bastion host. So to confirm that we can actually SSH into each one of them from the Bastion host, we are going to go into our VS Code. I'm going to try to connect to the Bastion hosts. So this is my Bastion host. You can confirm the configuration. So I'll need to confirm the configuration, right? So Ansible. So ignore all these are other servers I have access to. So our focus is this Jenkins Ansible, which is we have this, which is the host name, the user, the identity file. These are just basic configuration anyway, right? So if you follow my previous video, you understand how I was able to configure the board. This is just the basic configuration. If you can follow the same configuration, the only thing you are changing is this Ubuntu will still be Ubuntu because you are using an Ubuntu OS, and this should point to the location where you keep your key pair So my home key pair is kept in this location, and that's what I'm pointing to. So if I go back into this, connect to my host, my Jenkins server. Oh, okay, I am not showing that previously. So let me go back a bit. I wasn't showing that on my. Let me just go back. So what I was explaining earlier, if you click on this, where you have this right, the bottom left corner of your VS Code to start your connect to host to start your remote SSH. Then I said you look at configuration, click on the user configuration. Say you should ignore this. This is other servers I'm managing based on my current job. So what I'm saying is that we have the host, which is this is actually the host. You can see that if you go to your, if you click on Jenkins server, let me just show you that. So the public IP4 DNS, that's what we use as the host. You can actually use the IP, the public IP too, if you want. So it depends on your choice. So let's go back. VS Code. So as I was saying, so we use the the public IP4 DNS as our host, which is basically what we do when we are trying to SSH. We use Ubuntu at this, which is this. Then the identity file is actually pointing to your key pair. So I'm just pointing it to the location of my key pair. Forward agents, hard key to agents. So what we are saying is that when I start my remote SSH, it should forward the agents, right, to the remote server and add the key, this key. This is our key to the remote, the SSH agent, so that I can use the same key to authenticate other servers. So let's just go back and see how we can connect. So if I click on the left bottom corner of my VS Code, I can see that. So I go to Jenkins server. It is going to launch another instance of my Jenkins server, as you can see. So let me see. Let's see. I'm supposed to see that, but slide is not coming up. So what I'm going to do is add a new view. I'm going to call it remote SSH. Let me just add a new view. 1 minute video. Actual. So code welcome. I think this. Okay, so I'm now in my remote server for the Jenkins. Can see now I can try to connect to SSH at so if I go back to my first screen, so let's try to connect to, let me see which one can we connect to. So let's connect to one of the web servers. So what I need is the private, so I need the private IP. Where is taking this one? Let me just copy it like this. there's still that one information I'm trying to look for. The username. Well, I think I know the username, so let's just move on with this. So I'll do, I think it should be EC2 user at the private IP. So if this is correct, you should be able to SSH into it. Voila. So that means that is going fine. No, so you can try every other one, but for now I think that is fine. Now, if you go into our Ansible location, at the moment, based on the last configuration we did, so we have this based on the last Jenkins job we did. That's where we are. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to empty this. So I'm going to do sudo remove okay, let me just do SSH out. So I will do sudo remove then Ansible the contents. So let me do cd Ansible ls. Okay, good. It's empty now. So let's go back. Based on so what I've done basically is let's see so what I do basically is let's see, I basically empty out the Ansible. So what I want to do is I'll go back to my GitHub. Based on the work we did earlier on in our VS Code, right? We are able to, so okay, let's see, I think there's a bit of an error here. Static assignments. Let me be sure that I got this right. So this is not correct. Did I make a mistake? Static assignment. I wonder where the error is coming from anyway. But if you want to be sure, so let me just push this to GitHub. Updates playbook. Right, so let's push this to GitHub. So this should be in GitHub by now. So this is GitHub. Let me just refresh. So I can just create a pull request and just say, just put not too much, plenty grammar. Just pull request this. Interestingly too, you can set up GitHub action. using Ansible links to kind of check that your playbook is in compliance with the Ansible code, but is outside the scope of this project. So if I go back to this, I should be able to see another job. Yes. So let's just wait for it. So that's good. So if I go back to my remote server, as you can see on the screen, this is my remote server. It's, 1 minute. So let's go back to our VS Code. I think there's a bit of an update we needed to do. So we needed to update the private IPs of all these servers. So we need to go back to so let me just do private IP for server 1. Now the private IP for server 1. Let me do server 2. So we are getting the private IP for server 2. I'm going to add that here. Let's get the private IP for server 3. You realize that we just created the instance, we did not really do anything here, which is basically what we should do. There's no point creating all the 3 titles, installing PHP and the likes for now. What we just want to do is test out Ansible. So DB private IP. Load balancer private IP. So let me just get the NFS first. The NFS private IP. Okay, I think I've gotten that. Can I update this? The last one is load balancer private IP. If you notice when I'm trying to SSH into a server for the first time, you always get these fingerprint, blah, 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 type yes, right? Because we are doing an automation and we don't want, and we are running a script which we won't be individually SSHing into each of the server, we added this extra command here to kind of disable that checking and stuff like that. So based on that, I think we are basically good. I don't know why this is giving me this, but let me see. Okay, that has been fixed. So let me be sure that this is also correct. Let me just not allow me to forward that think this is correct. So let me just push this. Updates dev inventory. So hopefully I'm not. Let me see if. So I have to create a new pull request then, because I've already. So let me create a new pull request. Take this. Let's update inventory. So this should be straightforward, I guess. It should be quite straightforward. So pushing the update to the main so that our Jenkins server can do its magic. So this is the last one we did. So if I refresh this, I should see a new job. I see it here. Now let's just wait for it to finish. So now if I go back to my remote server, as you can see here, I should be able to have, right? Now let's now test if the Ansible playbook is working. What we just did is just make a bit of tweak to the previous project. Instead of running the common playbook directly, we are just kind of running it through the import functionality in Ansible. So basically, so if I click this and I go back to, let me just copy the command and I say, okay, run this Ansible command for me. Let me just increase my screen. Oh, that's too much. And that is fair enough. So let me clear, let me paste it here, run. Right, so the playbook is running, you can see, can gather facts. So it's going to gather facts, install. It's gathering, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me confirm. 15 is the NFS server. 20 is one of the 20 is one of the web server. 26 is also a web server. 42 is web server. So it's not getting that of the DB server. That's kind of strange. That's kind of strange. It's missing one out of that. Let me confirm. There are two. Oh, I think I made a bit of a mistake. The DB server and I made a bit of a mistake. I think I did not get I did not put the right, okay, I did not put the right information. So I'm going to fix that by going straight into the main. So while that is going on, let me just quickly fix the error I made. So in my inventory, the error is actually in the inventory. You can see that this is actually wrong for the IP, the private IP for this is wrong. So I'll have to adjust this. So commit. So that should automatically trigger. That should automatically trigger another compilation. So how that is doing, let me just adjust this also. Okay. So we'll deal with that later. So let me see the effect of that. Okay, so he was able to do for the load balancer. So I will just have to rerun this so that we can capture. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is correct. That is correct. So the initial 4 is correct. So it's going to install what's needed to install on the DB. This is just basically what we wanted to confirm, that instead of running the play directly, we can import the play to the site's YAML file, which is the entry points, because that will be the basis of what we want to do next, which is the final phase of this project. So we assume that will work perfectly. So yes, I've done that for the DB. We won't really do much updates for the rest, so everything is fine. That has been done. So let's just move ahead. Now that we have achieved that, right, that has been done. Now we can also create another, so we can create a new, so let's create a new YAML file. Let me go to my VS Code. So in my VS Code, I'll create a new YAML file. That's a new play. I'll call it delete. So I'm going to, we installed Wireshark, so I'm just going to delete the Wireshark that we installed. Right. Let me delete that. I don't know why this is like that. Let me just make it an Ansible file. Okay. So this should be this. This should be this. So I can use my Ansible links and do fix to fix my static common. So in case there's any link error in my playbook, that's the beauty of running Ansible. So, but actually, I know this is correct. I know this is correct, so I don't really have a problem with it. I don't know why it's showing red everywhere. Okay, it's popping out error now. What is it saying? Oh. Yeah, I know where the error is coming from. So this to move forward, and this should also move forward. Right. Should be correct. So this should be here. This should be here. So that should fix that for me. Then can cross-check to be sure that all the links are fixed. So basically, what we are saying is, defining the roles, use the roots, uninstall using because this is a Red Hat server, so we are using the package manager for Red Hat. For Ubuntu, we are using the apt package manager. There's a bit of differences. When you uninstall a package, you need to remove dependencies and the likes that is not needed on the server. So I know this, I'm 100% sure this will whatever, so that we won't waste a lot of time. So I'll just update playbook. I'll just push this. Okay. Update playbook. So based on that, I think that has been fixed. Okay, I think that's all. So I can go back to my GitHub requests, the pull requests. Hopefully you can finish this. I don't want it to get to 2 hours so that it won't be too boring. So I can do this. updates. So you should be able to merge the pull requests. Right, so if I go back to this, I should see another build. Yes, it's working. I'll just wait for that to be done. Be sure that has been copied to the server. Alright, so let's go back to our remote server. So now let me clear my screen. So I can run this. So, okay. Oh, come on. I made a bit of a mistake though. But instead of going back to correct that, let me just let me just correct that quickly. I can get a bit. So I'll just go to the main. So I'm supposed to update the site, the playbook, which is the site. So instead of common, I'm supposed to say common deletes. So that's the play we want to run now. So let me just update this. So what I'm saying that once I run that, it's now running the common instead of the common delete instead of the common. So let me just wait for another one to. Okay, so if I go back to my remote server, just to be sure. Let's go to my remote server. So let me just be sure. Let's do cat play sites. Okay, good, it's correct. So which means I can just run this. Now you can see it's gathering facts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is correct. It's deleting the sharp, which means the sharp was actually installed initially. So let's just wait a bit. That has been done. So it's deleting it for the load balancer server, which is also fine. So I'm expecting this to, right? So basically that's what we intend to achieve, just to be sure that everything is working. So let's go back to the main points of this project. So basically we should have something like this though. So the main point of so we have covered the import parts. So the second part is to talk about how to use role in Ansible. So to achieve that, I'm just going to run this on my VS Code. A bit of a pause there. I just have to change my ambient lights. So going back to where we stopped, we are trying to move into the next phase of our configuration or setup or based on the project. So we're supposed to create what they call roles. So basically, in Ansible, you can configure different servers based on their roles, like web servers, database, and the likes and the likes. So instead of uh, writing a long what do you call it? Instead of writing a long playbook for that, right? You can kind of categorize them based on roles, and everything you need for a particular role can actually be grouped into the roles folder for that particular role, like web server, database, and the likes. So we are back again, right? So we are going to start by creating a web server role, and we are going to use the Ansible Galaxy module for us to be able to generate the file structure for the role. So first of all, we need to create a role folder in the root folder of the repo. So I'm going to do that by going into the repo. Let me use the command line. So I'm just going to paste this here. Right. Then inside this, so I'm going to do cd rows. Then after then, I'm going to write the Ansible Galaxy. So this is the benefit of installing Ansible on your local machine, so that you'll be able to use all the Ansible module on your local machine. You don't need to manually type in some of the commands. So I just say init, which means initial web server. I think I'm going to call my web server. So let me stick with what I have. This is what I have. Web server. So the role is web server, not web servers. So let me just maintain that. Alright, so let's call it web server. So let's see. Okay, I know why this is happening. Let me just delete this. I created it from the command line. So instead of using sudo, I just say make directory row. But if you use sudo, I'll be creating as a root user, which will not allow me to run the command. So I'm just going to do that. Rows. Then I can run my init now. It should work. Yes, that should work. And the reason is that when you use sudo, you are creating that as a root, which means that only the root user will be able to manipulate that, so which we don't want that. We need to delete some folder. I think we need to delete the var. We need to delete I think the tests. I don't need the tests. Template tags. I think files needs to go, but let me be sure. Let me confirm that. So I keep a bit of a breakdown of what the entire file structure looks like. Okay, file needs to go. So, so let me take out files. Good. Now, so based on these web servers, so all the tasks we needed to run to be able to deploy the web servers will be written inside this, and we are going to import this row into the site, right? So we are going to use this. So we are going to create, based on what you see here, we're supposed to create 2 fresh instances for Web 1 UAT, that's user acceptance testing servers, web servers. So I will come back to, let me just quickly show you that. So we are supposed to create these two. We are fresh EC instances using Red Hat. So I'm just going to quickly create them. So I'm going to make these two. And I'm going to call this Web 1 UAT. Red Hat. Micro is fine. So the whole idea is to demonstrate. The whole idea is to demonstrate how to use the role functionality to deploy a full web server. So pick this. I'm going to use existing role, which is web server. Then I have to ensure that they are in the same availability zone like the rest of them, which is 3C. I think that's all I needed to do, so I can just launch this. Ideally, since they are in the same, so I should be able to SSH into it. Let me refresh this. And basically, that's all you needed to do. So all the initial, when we are doing the manual one, we need to SSH into each one of them, link it, do GitHub cloning and all those what have you. You don't need to do that here. Just launch the instance, that's all. Then get the private IP of each of the instances, and that's what you need. So I'll go back to my VS Code, right? So I'll go back there, then let me just copy this. Okay, let me just copy it from here. So go into my this, paste it. I only need 2, so I remove this. I don't need all this for now because this is basically for this. Then I will call this web, just say UAT web server. I think that is fine. So what I need to do is to update the all I need to do is to update the private IP. So the first one, the private IP is this. Okay, so the second one is the private IP, copy this. So this. And that's all for that. Then, after I have done that, I need to create the tags. So to do that, I think I've done that here. So I've updated the private IP. Okay, so before you do that, I need to tell Ansible the location of my role in the Ansible configuration. So ideally, depending on your installation, um, your Ansible configuration is supposed to be in the etc/Ansible/ folder. But I discovered something quite interesting while I was working on this. So let's launch the remote server so I can quickly show you what I discovered. I'm going to launch the remote server, that's the Jenkins server. Let me see if you can still refresh page to that. Okay, right, so I think I have SSH into that. So let me just move this up. Let me increase this a bit. Now, if I go to cd/etc/Ansible, let me just go to etc first. Right, so let me go to etc first. Now, if I do ls, you can see from the list of folder here, there is nothing like Ansible here, which is what I discovered yesterday. But if you find yourself in the same situation, do not panic. So what you need to do is create the Ansible folder by doing sudo make directory p by etc/Ansible, right? So based on that, now I can do Ansible. Now, so you need to do sudo nano Ansible config to create the config file. And basically what you need to put inside the config file is just to point it to location of where you keep so you're just going to point it to the location of the row. So if you look at what I have here, I said you should look into the home boot, that's the Ansible configuration artifact, which is where I'm keeping my Ansible code under the row, that's where it is. But if they did not see it there, then you can have a row folder inside your Ansible configuration folder also. So I'm just going to copy this. So what it does is that if I'm running Ansible, we'll first check this location. If you can't find the row, then it will come and check this other location. But since we have defined the location, we have defined the stuff in that location, I think that should work fine. So I'll just pull this, save it, then I think I'm fine for now. So you can move back to our VS Code. Now, so I need to, let's go back to what we are trying to do, tasks. Now, look at this task. So I'm trying to create a playbook task for the web server to install the Apache, install Git, clone the tooling repo, the one we use when we are dealing with the DevOps Tooling web solution. So it's the same repo we are working with, right, using the web server role. So basically, the first play is going to install Apache, which is what we are seeing here. The second play, which is what we are seeing here, is basically to start and enable the Apache service. Then the second play is to install. So I actually install PHP, and is on the web server. Well, it's not really part of whatever. It's not part of the project. Well, I just decided to add that to yours. You can choose to skip this if you like. Then, because I'm installing PHP, I had to restart the Apache so that it can take note of the PHP that is being installed and load it to the appropriate web server. Then I create a play to install it, as you can see. Then I create another play so this play basically, so there's a bit of, let me see, there's a bit of an error with how this play is being generated. So let me quickly correct this. Let's see. Let me quickly correct this play. Self-study, Jenkins enhancements. Right, see the first play. Okay, so this play is wrong. Formats. Okay, don't worry, we'll just correct that. I'll correct that when I'm copying it into trying to correct that here with the bits of an edit, right? I'll just correct that when I'm copying it into the VS Code, so that way it will be easier. So as I'm saying, so the next play after installing Git is to clone the repo, the tooling repo. So after we clone the repo, we clone the repo inside this inside the var www.html. So based on that, we are going to have a situation like this, because it's going to copy everything inside the repo directly inside this, and inside the repo we have an HTML folder. So what we want to do is we will now created another play that helps to copy the contents of inside what you have inside the HTML. Let me quickly show you what I'm talking about. Let's go into the tooling so that you kind of understand what I'm talking about. Now, if I go to the tooling, see, okay, this is the tooling. Now, in the tooling, as you can see, we have an HTML folder which has all the HTML code that is needed for our websites or our web server. Now, if you run the clone command based on the play, it's going to copy all the content here the way it is and dump everything. So it's going to dump everything inside the content inside the HTML contents folder. So what we want to do now is we want to copy everything that we have inside this HTML folder and copy it directly inside the first HTML folder, which is the parent folder. So we can copy everything inside. Then once we have done that, we will now correct. So this part is to correct the permission. Now, we also set remote source. Well, what we are saying that the copying from this to this is done on the remote server, not on the basting server that is running the Ansible play. So what we are saying that this operation should be done on the remote server, which is the web servers we are configuring using the Ansible. Then this other part is to start and enable Apache in case it has not been started, which is more like redoing what we have here, right? So we just wanted to do this again because of the copying we have done here. So just to know as a guide to be sure. Then after we have done that, then we want to delete this entire folder. We want to delete this entire folder from the server, so that at the end of the day, you are only going to have this folder in the server. So to do that, we copy this entire code. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to make it better. Let me just see if I can increase this a bit. So I'm going to delete everything I have here. So I'm going to paste this here. Now, based on what I've pasted, I'm going to correct some of them. Right. So this entire code should be like this. So this other one too should move forward by one tab. This same one should move forward by one tab. The subset, the same thing here by one tab. The same thing here by one tab. The same thing here. You will notice that when I was cloning, I said it should clone only the main repo, nothing else. Then these two by one tab. So this is how to write a play. If you have followed my previous, and that's all we needed to do here. So this is the entire play that the web server Ansible will be using to configure the two web servers. So the next step is to update. So we are supposed to create a play for the web server where we'll now be importing the role into the play. So the whole idea is to ensure that we separate each play. We grouped it into a row, right? Instead of typing it directly into the playbook. So in my static assignment, I'm going to create a new playbook in there. Then I'm going to import the row, which is this. So I'm saying I'm dealing with the web servers, which is this, the UCA web servers, and I want to use this row. So Ansible will go and check the row, look at the play, and use that to configure that. So based on that, I'm going to go back to here. So I'm going to paste this here. Right. So I'm going to indent this. This is how to do that. I think I made a bit of a mistake. So I'm going to indent this. Alright, so that's the way I'm supposed to do that. So let me just confirm that the name, I think the name was wrongly spelled. So because the name of the host must be the same as what I'm using in the. So let me see. I think this is fine. Right, so that is done. Same thing here. This is fine. Right, so that's sort that out. So we need to update the sites now. So all we need to do is to update that. So I can just do this. Right, so I'll go to my sites and just update the entire thing. So let me just disable. Let me disable the servers I'm not needing. I'm just going to stop the other servers since I don't want to run anything on them. Stop instances. So even though in my playbook there's a play for them, but because the servers are not available, it's going to skip them. So let me go back here. This common play is this. All right, I think we have everything we needed. I think we have everything we needed. Right. So before we go and play this, let me be sure. So let me just run my Ansible links to ensure that I don't have any lint error in my entire code. Even though this is showing red. Okay. So which one is it talking about? Mental, I did not attach, I did not do anything about that. Tasks, okay, let me see. Say trailing. Let me go. I think I removed this. So let me just do web server tax name. I just run it against that to be sure that I don't have issue with that file. I'm not expected to have issue with the file. No issue with the file. So let me go back a bit. Ansible links. Let me fix any error in my play site. It's looking like I can't manually fix this. I don't know what this is doing. Okay. I think what's this saying? Could not find. Okay, so let me just, I think there's a problem with this. I don't know why. Oh, okay, I see where the problem is. So this is supposed to be single, not double. So that's one of the beauty of having the Ansible links. So you'll be able to pick up some of your errors before deploying it to. Okay, so that is gone, which means everything is fine. So just do server load. So based on that, we need to go back to GitHub, create a PR. So come back to GitHub and then do back. Okay. So let me create a P for. Alright, so let's see. Seems to be a conflict here, but what does that? To solve conflicts in my playbook. So I can remove this. What I want. So just solve the conflict. So let's wait for it to give us the go ahead to merge. I'll just refresh this page. So basically this is just the last part, so we just merge. Right, so we go back to our Jenkins server, should be able to see a new build. Right, so you can see a new build is currently running. So let's just wait for that to finish. So go back, so I copy this. So these are what I've copied. This is what I'm copying. This is what I'm copying. These parts. That's the command to run the Ansible. So let's go back to the remote at the Bastion server. Right, so I think I still have it on. Right, so let me just go back. So here you see the Ansible configuration management, blah blah blah. Then I'll run my play. Now, so we skip this first one, which is the first play, skip the other one. So because it could not log in, but you can see you can get into the two web user acceptance testing web servers. So it's currently installing Apache, as you can see. So I've installed Apache. It has enabled the Apache. It's installing PHP based on my play. It has installed PHP, as you can see. Right, as we start the Apache, is installing Git, as you can see. Right, so it has installed Git. Right, yeah. So the entire play has done. So how do I know that everything has been done? Right, so if I go back to, let me, so if I do SSH EC2 user ads. So let me look for the private IP for the first server. So let me just copy this. Yeah, so if you go to cd var www, oh sorry, I think I made a mistake. www HTML, then do ls. You can see you have everything inside the HTML, which is exactly what we want to achieve. So if I clear, I do exit and check the same for the web server 2, using the IP of the web server 2. Okay, web server 2. I paste it here. You can see inside the web server 2, cd var www.html, ls. You can see it's exactly the same thing we are seeing in the 2 server. And this is just done based on the configuration we set up on the Ansible playbook. So this will bring us to the end of the project. I hope this demonstration will help you to achieve your own project. If you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section. I'll try my best to answer as many questions as possible. You can always reach out to me in case I think I have my email address or something like that. You can search me on LinkedIn. You check the description, you'll see my LinkedIn link. You can chat me up on LinkedIn. I think I'm also on Twitter, so you can send a message on Twitter if you need help or something like that. So thank you for taking this time to go through the whole project together, and hope to see you in my next project demo.